Okay, so yesterday I got to watch the new episode of Survivor, and thank goodness. Partly because I missed it last week, and it's just kind of shitty that I missed it last week, and I did not want that to become a habit. You know, one is an accident, two is a trend, three is a problem. We stopped it at an accident. Also, because, but by no means my favorite episode of the season. I feel like some of the other ones, like Kelly's boot, I think I kind of liked it. I liked the double elimination before that. I don't know if I quite loved it, but like the Kelly episode was probably one of the better episodes of the season so far. But I really liked some of the shit we got in this episode. There was some really there was some good emotional moments and some good character moments that I really liked on top of just some entertaining dumb funny shit. So, going beat by beat, the post tribal section of the episode, Bruce makes up this lie that he tells to Katura and he tells to Jake about how, so, knowledge is power is a thing in the new era. I don't know if anybody has it. Everyone knows I have an idol. So I gave my idol to Kelly for safekeeping, and she was voted out with it. I don't have it anymore, which is a big fat lie. But he says that so that way people won't be worried about my idol. So, if I lose immunity and everyone says now we can get Bruce, and they find out that I don't have my idol, they're all going to vote for me with pretty much no backup. I will then play my Ding Dang idol, and whoever I vote for goes home. I will have a huge impact on this season, and it's going to be a fantastic move. It's going to be a fantastic defensive move, saving myself with my idol, and a great offensive move in taking out a big threat. Katura not only sniffs out immediately that this is bullshit because she never trusts anything Bruce says, but he tells her right after, that's a pretty good lie, huh? Like, no, like, I still have my idol, but I don't want people to know that I have it. She's like, why are you telling? Okay, first off, I don't trust you, and if this is your super plan, why are you telling me? He then tells Jake, who 100% believes it, and then Jake ends up telling other people, he's like, hey, I mean, Bruce doesn't. He's telling Drew, he's like, hey, I mean, Bruce don't have his idol no more, so if you want to vote for Bruce, I don't mind doing it. You know, Jake is in the if it ain't me, it's a good plan. Part of his game. Hey, dude, my cat just came to sit on my lap while I'm doing the video. Ain't that right, bub? Ooh, sweet boy. Another thing in the post tribal is Mama J talking about the guilt of the like essentially the other side of the blind side. She's like, that's two people in a row, and Kelly and Kendra. Two people who really trusted me that didn't even want to look at me after I voted them out. And you know what? I mean, that's fair on their part. But I'm someone who likes to think of myself as someone who's very loyal, someone who is trusting and trustworthy. And to stab multiple people, like she's like, I know, I get it. I know what I signed up for. But it's not always easy to do it. Like, I'm not quitting, it's nothing like that, but it's a lot easier to downplay the human element and the emotional element when you're sitting on your couch rather than, when you're out here in the sand. And I really did appreciate that moment, and she's talking to Drew about it, and the two of them just kind of like hug it out. They share a cry session. And at first, I didn't realize Drew was crying. I actually thought he was laughing a little bit. And I kind of felt like an asshole for that because it's not like, oh man, this guy's such a piece of shit. He completely lacks empathy. Of course he's laughing. Just the way it sounded, I thought he was kind of giggling a little bit. But no, it seemed like he was crying and it was all genuine. I thought it was a very sweet moment. Um, there's nothing really else there except that it becomes very clear. There's 8 people. It's 4 and 4. You've got the Reba 4 who have been untouched this entire fucking merge. 3 Bello, and Emily, who's kind of Reba's 5th and seems to be in a position where she says, I want to do something to target this for and maybe break them up. The problem is, I can't do that by myself. They don't want to take each other out, at least not yet. And these three Bellows don't want to work together. Jake is in his, I have to do everything I can to survive another day. And Bruce and Katurah don't want to work with each other. They don't like each other. And at this point, it seems like Jake and Bruce aren't really allies either. So I can't really rally them together because this entire merge, they've been unrallyable. Fair enough. So then we get to the reward challenge, because we actually got a reward today, which was kind of nice, I guess, yesterday. And on the one hand, it was kind of funny to me, because I was like, all right, it's turkey, mashed potatoes, gravy. I'm like, oh, the reward is like a Thanksgiving dinner at the sanctuary. That was last week. It just felt like it aired slightly, I don't know, maybe... never mind. Anyways, like, it seemed like very much like this is like kind of the Thanksgiving themed episode, but it aired the week after Thanksgiving. But you know, it is what it is. Emily wins the reward. She's allowed to bring someone. So I think at first she's like, all right, I'm gonna pick Mama J. You get someone else. I'll bring Katurah, and then I'll bring someone else. Okay, I'll bring D. So it's a girls' night. So the girls get to stay at the sanctuary and stay overnight, where the boys are all hanging out at camp. So the girls' night is, they talk about some shit. Emily's like, yeah, I wanted all the girls together so I can, you know, kind of do some more bonding with the two Reba women, kind of see what's going on there. Everyone gets some letters from home, and Katurah gets one from her mom. And she specifically said, I've cut off contact with my mom. And she doesn't go into the reasons why, which is fully justified. This is her life. She doesn't have to go into anything that personal. But I feel like if you're fully cutting off contact with your mom, there's definitely some really, you know, there's some deep shit there, and I wish her all the best with that. The fact that one of her mom's letters still got through, though, that's really shitty. I'm not sure who's at fault. I don't know if production knew about that and they let the letter come in, that's on them. If they didn't know about that, then they can't really be blamed for it. So I don't really want to point fingers at anybody. But I feel like what happens later at the challenge feels a bit more justified. Again, it's kind of like what Julie was sort of saying earlier about there's a human element out here. And when you first go onto the island, you're not really thinking about that. You're like, I get to be on the show, I get to be on TV, I get to, you know, make moves and shit. But once you've been here for a few weeks and you get to really know some of the people out here, boy, it becomes a lot harder to cut people, you know? And, like, the stress and the frustration, it builds, and sometimes it kind of breaks you. Also, there's Emily talking about her life and she, like her boyfriend, and how she never really wanted to be married, but now she's thinking that she really wants to. And she's just holding a wine glass in all of the confessionals. And I was like, okay, like the stuff about her life, it's interesting shit. It's very lovely. But just her sitting there with a wine glass while giving confessionals, I'm like, this is some great Survivor shit, and I love it. Then we go back to camp. And we see the boys, who they're all just like, oh yeah, you know, everybody's burping, everybody's farting, like we're just talking about action movies and shit. You get like Drew flexing, Bruce like hurling a coconut as a fucking Kenny Loggins song playing with the boys is playing over this montage of just broing out. Like, I remember, in Caramelon, which was Fans vs. Favorites 2, there's a scene where some of the guys I think are like on reward, and they're like, hey, you know, in the last Fans vs. Favorites in Micronesia was an all-girls alliance. Maybe we should do an all-guys alliance. You know, have the guys run things. We can bro down. I think it was, shit. I can remember his face, but I can't remember his name. Oh, this is really bothering me. Anyway, he was one of the three amigos. but the one that wasn't Malcolm and the one that wasn't Eddie. But it was the third guy who, I remember he won a couple immunities. Reynolds. It was Reynolds or Reynolds. I don't remember if there was an S. That was his name. I think he was the one that said we should all bro down. And then you get a confessional of Cochran saying, I don't want to fucking bro down. It's like, do I look like the guy who wants to like bro down and hang out with the guys? No, this is stupid. Which I just lives in my head rent free because I thought it was kind of funny. And here you've got Drew. He's the like, you know, I'm not usually the guy who's like, bro time and shit like that. But you know what? I still had a good time. It was kind of nice to just hang out with the guys and have a good time. And it's just those few minutes are probably like the most fun I have had in this season. And this has been a fun season. It was comedy gold. There's a scene where Jake and Drew just kind of start having beef because Jake's tired of always being on the bottom and always everyone's backup vote and shit. So he's like, man, I don't remember. Actually, this might have been when everyone came back together. I'm not sure. I think maybe it was. He starts throwing Drew's name out there, and Drew gets kind of mad at him and is trying to talk with him. And Jake's like, this conversation's over. And Drew's like, all right, you fucking mob boss saying conversation's over. Fuck you, man. Fuck you, too. And that was that. It was kind of funny and entertaining. That's kind of all I have to say there. Then we get to the challenge, or the immunity challenge, which is you're on a kind of laddery thing, and you have to sit there and hold. And, every few minutes you go down and hold, and when you fall into the water, and there you go. And Katura has a mental breakdown. She's even talking about it. She's like, I know how to swim. I'm not scared of the water. But something about the challenge just really got under her. And I definitely feel like, in an episode that's really talking about the human element of stuff, panic attacks do happen. It's not, especially, like if you're afraid of heights and it's not just like, yeah, I'm in the water, you're just kind of staring down. I can see that. And I don't know how she felt like reading something from her mom, someone she has no contact with. But I imagine that it did not help her mental state and it did not help her emotional state. And I feel like the challenge was it kind of all boiling over. I saw definitely a few comments saying shit like, man, like, I can't believe her. She's so annoying. Like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like, yeah, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, this is a human being. I keep saying, like, it's so easy to forget that human element and to downplay it. It's like, I feel like people hate game bots, but then when people make human decisions and have human emotions on Survivor, people get mad at them for not doing the game body thing. Like, you can't have it both ways. Like, come on. It's something I don't want to say, like, I really liked this moment, because I don't want to say that, yeah, I enjoyed watching someone have a fucking panic attack. But it's these kind of moments that do remind me, like, I'm watching people. And that's why Survivor will always be so interesting to me. These are fellow human beings with thoughts and emotions. And sometimes just shit happens. At the end of the challenge, it came down to Austin and Bruce. Austin won. So Bruce is now the primary target. And Katura let everybody know that, like, yeah, his idol thing is bullshit. He still has it. So he's target number one. So in the, post-challenge scramble, Emily is saying to herself, okay, I can't get these three together to do something, but I'm going to make it seem like I am. We're going to pick a target, and I'm going to let them know that's like, okay, like Reba is going to be splitting their votes between Bruce and Jake. And while their votes are split, and they're kind of expecting us to fall in line, the four of us can get together and get Mama J. I think Katura was actually the one who first brought her up. She's like, look, I mean, we call her Mama. That's the kind of person who might win. because we all like her. We want to see someone like that win $1 million. Do you want to sit next to someone that we all call mom? No. And Bruce is like, yeah, I'm kind of down for that. And Jake's like, if it's not me, it's not me. And it's kind of like what Tony was doing to Sophie in Winners at Wars. Like, okay, the plan is chunk of the tribe is going to vote Jeremy. Chunk of the tribe is going to vote Michelle. So how about me, Jeremy, and Michelle vote for Sophie? And I'll rope Nick into this because I feel like Nick's my boy and he's kind of down for anything. We could get rid of a big threat this way. Let's go. Like, I'm going to use that split to our advantage to snipe somebody. And Emily suggests the same thing, with also her plan being, I don't want to get rid of Mama J because I don't want to piss Reba off yet. Because I have much stronger bonds with the 4 of them than the 3 of them. And they're going to fracture at some point, and I want to stick around for that, and also have enough trust with all 4 of them, that they want me on their side during the fracture. What I'm really trying to do is to get Bruce so convinced that this Mama J plan is happening that he doesn't play his idol and he goes home. There's also a scene, and this also happens at Tribal, where Jake is talking about his mental state. Again, the human element of the show. He's like, I'm a lawyer. I'm someone who people look at and it's like, I'm very smart. I'm very smart. I've always felt like I'm someone who can play this game well. And here I am at the bottom, constantly out of the loop. I don't know who's lying to me. I have no idea what the fuck is going on because people don't want to include me. I feel dumb. I feel useless. You know, something that's very common amongst attorneys is imposter syndrome, where you don't feel like you're good enough to be in the situation that you're in. And out here, boy, it's fucking magnified. And he has this, I really liked the scene with Bruce and when he's talking to Jeff about it at Tribal. That resonated with me a lot. Like, I've said a few times before, like, Jake is like my fucking spirit animal. And, like, shit like this, especially when talking about imposter syndrome as a lawyer, I'm like, man, I can really relate to that. But at Tribal, when the votes come in, Bruce does not play his idol. And he does end up going home with it in his pocket. Emily, he's like, look, she got me. She had me convinced that the 4 of us were going to do this plan. I was on board for it. I thought, if that's the case, I don't need to play it. It is what it is. And again, like, the game body side would be always play that idol because you know you're on the bottom, you know you're the threat, you gotta do it. But there's also that sense of, I don't want to play it if I don't think I have to. And if they can really convince you that you don't need it, then that's a good move. What was next week? I think next week they were kind of making it seem like, okay, Reba is now starting to fracture. There are 7 people left. 4 of them have all been working together. All 4 of them are considered threats to win. And also at this point, I think they're probably going to realize, why would we get rid of Jake and Katura? They're not going to win this game. They haven't done a whole lot. They're not the threats. The threats are pretty much the 4 of us. Maybe they would include Emily in that. I'm not as sure. It's like, we need to start taking each other out so we can bring these 2 to the end. So, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to see where this goes. There's 7 people left, and I think usually the finale now at 6. So I'm only expecting a couple more episodes of this season, and since about episode 2, Emily has been my winner pick. I hope I'm right about that. But I feel like I won't be... On the one hand, I'd be upset if Ariba won, just because it's kind of boring just how thoroughly they have steamrolled the end of this game. But it's not like I look at them and go, wow, I hate them. They're so undeserving. It's like, no, they've played a very good united game. And honestly, in not even in just the new era itself, but just kind of in modern Survivor, it's nice seeing a very strong alliance. Not just a duo. It's just here's a group of like four people who have been together since almost the very start of the game and have this very strong connection, are almost unwavering in it. That's one of, to me, was the big problems of Winners at War was, yeah, there was a big duo in Cops R Us, but for the most part, it's like, I don't know who's really allied with who. I remember at one point, Ben and Jeremy were super tight, and then kind of out of nowhere, they split and started hating each other, and I had no idea why the fuck they were doing that. It's nice to see. It's a weird thing to kind of say in Survivor, but it's nice to see loyalty being paid off and rewarded. And we had it last season too with the Tika 3. It's like, here is a strong, united trio. I think it is super interesting to me that early in that season, Carson had a moment where he's like, okay, here's the two people I kind of said that I was with, that I trusted, and we would go far together. And then here's the other two with Jam Jam and Carolyn. And I don't know, these two are kind of a mess, but fuck if I don't love them. You know, I think I kind of trust them more, so I'm gonna go with them. And I don't know what would have happened the other way. Maybe that way would have been different. Maybe he would have won, but all three of them got to the final fours. It's like, Carson made a good fucking play there. It's just nice seeing, again, maybe not always a super dominant alliance, but it is nice seeing it's nice seeing the value of an alliance rather than just we're together for one vote and then we move on to the next person. Anyways, that's kind of all I have to say about this episode. Clearly I liked it quite a bit, and like I've been saying, can't wait for the next few.